The pale morning sun had barely brushed the red canyon walls when the still air trembled with a cry, soft, frightened, and desperate enough to stop even the wildest stallion in mid-stride, Luke Callahan, a cowboy known. Across the frontier as a man who rarely spoke but never ignored, a soul in danger was riding along the shallow water trail beneath the cliffs when he heard the voice again. "Please, help me." It wasn't the kind of shout born from laziness or mischief. This was the cry of someone cornered by fear. He guided his horse toward the river bend, brushing aside reeds and muddy banks, until the scene unfolded before him like a story the land itself wanted him to witness there. Waist deep in the cool green water was a young woman, bare, shivering, clutching her arms around herself, as if the river alone stood between her and the world. Her long black hair, dripping and tangled, clung to her neckline. Her chest rose and fell in panicked breaths. Her eyes, wide, pleading and shimmering with humiliation, locked onto Luke like he was her last hope in an unforgiving desert behind her. The canyon echoed with silence, but her trembling shoulders told the tale before her voice could. Luke froze for a heartbeat, lowering his gaze to keep his respect, but the urgency in her voice pulled him closer. "Cowboy, please, don't look away. They stole my clothes. They took everything." Her voice cracked at the end, as if the very memory cut her like a blade. Luke stepped into the river, boots sinking into mud, his coat hanging over one arm. "Ma'am, don't you worry," he said softly, eyes carefully fixed on her face. "I'm here to help. Tell me what happened." She swallowed hard before answering, every word trembling. She had been traveling alone toward a small frontier town when a pair of outlaws spotted her resting near the river. They first mocked her, then chased her, and when she ran into the water for safety, they snatched her clothes, tore open her small pack, and rode away, laughing, leaving her with nothing but the cold water to hide behind. Luke felt a slow fire rise in his chest, the kind of anger he rarely allowed himself to feel. Those men still nearby, he asked. She shook her head, whispering, "I don't know. I was afraid to move." He stepped closer, offering his coat without looking down. "Here, cover yourself. You're safe now." She reached for it with trembling hands, her fingertips brushing his wrist. A moment so fragile, Luke felt something in the air shift. "My name's Alara," she said, voice small. "I didn't know who else to call." Luke nodded, guiding her gently out of the water, helping her stay hidden behind his broad shoulders until she wrapped his coat around her body. Her lips were pale, her skin chilled, and fear lingered in her eyes. But beneath that fear, Luke saw strength, strength beaten down but not broken. As he led her to his horse, she stumbled once, catching herself on his arm. "Thank you," she whispered. "You don't understand what those men said, what they planned to do if you hadn't been here." She couldn't finish. Tears glimmered but didn't fall. Luke tightened his jaw. He'd heard enough. "Alara, I give you my word, they'll never hurt you or any other traveler again." He helped her onto the horse, wrapped a blanket around her shoulders, and scanned the canyon tracks in the mud, boot prints, hoof marks fresh enough to still hold shape. Luke had tracked wild mustangs across harsher land. These men wouldn't be difficult to find. As they rode toward his camp, Alara leaned against his back, shivering from more than cold. Luke didn't speak. He didn't need to. The frontier taught him long ago that words meant little without action, and tonight his actions would echo across the canyon like gunfire, because the moment he saw her, alone, frightened, stripped of dignity, something awoke. Inside him, something deeper than duty or justice, a promise he silently carved into his heart. No one who cries for help in this land would ever cry alone. As long as he lived, and though neither of them knew it yet, their lives had already begun to intertwine like the river carving its path through the canyon, silent, unstoppable, and destined. By the time the sky had brightened fully, Luke had settled Alara at his camp, wrapped her in warm blankets, fed her water, and assured her she was safe. But Alara watched him with a fear that hadn't faded, only shifted. Fear not of him, but of what still lingered beyond the cliffs. "They won't stop," she whispered, clutching his coat tightly. "They took my clothes, my bag, but they wanted something else too." Luke paused while tightening his saddle. "What?" he asked. She hesitated, glancing toward the ground. "A small pouch. It had an old map, My father gave me a map to a hidden silver vein. They must have seen it when they searched my bag. Luke exhaled slowly so. This wasn't just cruelty, it was greed, targeted and dangerous. Stay here, he told her, and don't move from this fire. I'll be back before sundown. Ilara grabbed his arm, her voice shaking. Cowboy, what if they come back? What if they find me here alone? Luke leaned in, his voice low, steady, unshakable. They won't. Those two words, simple, strong, final, were enough. To steady her breathing, Luke rode off, following the tracks through the twisting red valley where the sun baked the sand and shadows played tricks on the eyes. Hours later, he found the outlaws near a burnt-out wagon, bragging about their river stunt, laughing about the girl they'd left shivering in the water. Their words poisoned the air. Luke didn't tolerate poison. He stepped out with the cold calm of a man who'd survived gunfights since boyhood. You boys got something that don't belong to you, he said, advancing like a storm rolling over dry land. One outlaw reached for his revolver. Luke fired first, knocking the weapon out of his hand so fast the man screamed in shock. The second outlaw froze, hands raised, but Luke wasn't done. Clothes bag, map, give them. In minutes, Luke had everything Ilara had lost, including a small leather pouch containing the old map the outlaws were tied up and delivered to a passing marshal, who thanked Luke but raised a brow. All this trouble for a girl you just met? Luke didn't answer. He didn't have to. When he returned to camp, Ilara nearly collapsed with relief. She ran into his arms before realizing what she was doing, then stepped back with flushed cheeks. But the gratitude in her eyes shone brighter than the river had. Hours ago you came back, she breathed. I told you I would, Luke replied. Simply, she touched the map pouch with trembling hands, her voice softening. My father died before he could teach me anything about life. But he always said, if you ever find a good man, never let him go. Luke felt the weight of those words settle on him like a warm blanket. Frontier was harsh, cruel, merciless. But in this moment, standing beside a girl who survived humiliation with dignity and courage, Luke felt something rare. Purpose. As they packed the camp to ride toward the nearest town, Ilara glanced shyly at him. Luke, I don't know where I'm supposed to go after this. I don't have family. I don't have a home. I don't even know how to survive out here. He looked at her, really looked, at her strength, her fear, her resilience. You're not alone anymore, he said. Not as long as you ride beside me. Her breath hitched, but this time not. From fear, she climbed onto his horse, settling behind him, hands resting on his sides as naturally as if she had always belonged there. Together they rode west, leaving behind the river that had witnessed her fear and riding toward a future neither of them had expected. The canyon wind brushed past them, carrying away the last echoes of danger and carrying forward something new, something brave, something beginning. And to all our viewers gathered around this storytelling campfire, if you want more Wild West stories filled with courage, justice, and heart-pounding frontier drama, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Your support keeps this journey alive.